Mains also, okay, about 11 to 13 questions will be asked in your mains, okay, relating to polity, governance, and constitution. Now, to run India, we could have had a king, we could have had a dictator, but we chose a democratic system. Democracy means rule by people. People will rule the nation. Executive at the state, who is it? Governor, then chief minister and council of ministers. And permanent executive is again bureaucrats. Everything. So in that part 5, there is central executive, central legislature, legislative power, union judiciary, everything. Later. 101 GST. 102 National Commission for Backward Caste. 103 10% reservation for EWS, economically weaker section. 104. Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Good. Okay. So we'll start with Indian polity and constitution. One of the very important topic for your competitive examination. ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರೀರಿ, ವೆದರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ KPSC, UPSC or Group B, Group C exam, polity-ಇಂದ directly or indirectly a lot of question will come. So knowing the concepts and knowing some important facts will help you to score really well. System. Okay. And one more thing is, you can write running notes. I won't dictate any notes. So whatever you feel is important, most of the things what is there on the board, okay, you can write down quickly. So actively also you will be writing down. So keep a separate 100, 200 pages notes. Whatever we do in class, lot of things which is not there in the textbook, current issues, everything I will be covering. So make sure quickly you write down all of that. Is that okay? So now when we talk about the democratic political system, right? So normally we say that democracy has 3 pillars. Yes, what are the 3 pillars? Legislature. See, a nation is a group of people. Now India is a nation. We need to run it because there are so much of diversity. So many different group of people are there. Individuals are there. Okay. So we need to run the country. How is the country run? Through a democratic political system. Is that okay? Each word we will explain later. Now, what is important for us to understand? What does this Indian Constitution deal with? So you have people who have come together to form a country, a nation called as India. Now, to run India, we could have had a king, we could have had a dictator, but we chose a democratic system. Democracy means rule by people. People will rule the nation. But ours is an indirect democracy. Indirect democracy, okay, that means people elect their representatives who run the country. Okay. Now, this democratic political system consists of 3 pillars. What are the 3 pillars? Legislature, executive, and judiciary. Okay. Now, legislature means law-making body. So who makes law? So to run this group of people, nation, to administer them, to regulate their activities, to give them rights, everything. For anything you need a set of laws. So who makes laws? The law-making body is called as the legislature. Okay. Now, once the law is made, the law has to be executed, implemented. The law has to be implemented. For example, right to information, RTI. All of you have heard, right? So who made this RTI? Our legislature. Now, who will implement that? Will our lawmakers, that is our parliamentarians, MPs, will they execute it? No. It will be executed by the executive and judiciary. They adjudicate, meaning if there is any dispute relating to law, okay, then the judiciary will adjudicate these matters. Okay, law making body, law implementing body, law adjudicating body. Is that okay? right? So this is the three pillars. Sometimes they say there are fourth pillar and all of that, right? Media is the fourth pillar, they say. Now they say social media is the fourth pillar because of Gen Z revolution and all. Hello, Gen Zs are the fourth pillar. So anybody can say whatever they want. Now, if you ask Arnab Goswami, he'll say he's the fourth pillar. Or our, what is that, the public TV guy, what's his name? Rangnath will say he's the fourth pillar of democracy. Hello, whatever, that is a different matter. Okay. Now, SMA and all, they ask the media, the fourth pillar is under threat. Explain. Okay. But anyways, from our polity point of view, legislature, executive, and judicial. So now we have to have a, place or a book which contain all of this. This is contained in our constitution, for example. Okay. Then other things what you need to know is ours is a federal system. Ours is a federal system. That means the power is divided between center and state. So we have central government and we have a state government. State is autonomous. Okay, it has got its own powers. So that is a federal system. The opposite of federal system is a unitary system, where there is only one single power, which is the central or union government, like the Britain. Britain is a unitary government. Unitary government. Ours is a federal government, meaning the power is divided between center and state. More than one power center is called as federalism. Is that okay? So now, unitary and federal. Now ours is a federal system. That means we have a central or union government and we have a state government. Now, for administrative purpose and to ensure local governance, we also have local bodies. Okay, local bodies, local self-governance institution, panchayats or urban local bodies. But they are not independent. They are not independent. In our federal system, there is only two tiers, not three. Even though third tier is there as administrative, but they are not independent. What do you mean by they are not independent? That means they are controlled by the states. Is state independent, autonomous, rather than saying independent, autonomous? Yes. They are not controlled all the time by the state. When I say all the time, okay, there is another concept that we will be discussing later. Ours is not a true federalism. That means the state is not completely independent. Like US is a federal, where states are more powerful than the center. Here, center is more powerful than the state. Okay, so we'll come to all of that. There's something called as emergency, where state's power is taken over by the center. Iga Tamil Nadu election aito, right? Chief Minister came, so no problem. Imagine if no political power had power, no political party got majority. Then what would have happened? You would have heard something called as president's rule. That means center will rule the state. Is that okay? Leave that for now. Don't worry. So now federalism, center and state. So centrallu legislature, executive, judiciary is there. State-allu we have legislature, executive and judiciary. Is that okay? So same system applies in center, same system applies in state. So what is the state legislature called? You know it, right? What is the state legislature? Called as the parliament. Yes? So parliament consists of what all? The president, the upper house, and the lower house. What is the upper house? Rajya Sabha. Lower house is Lok Sabha. Yes? So president, upper house, and Lok Sabha. So here president also is an integral part of the parliament. Understand that? I'll explain why later. So you have upper house and lower house. Okay. So this system is called as bicameral system. That means there are two houses. All those terms later we'll discuss, just to give an idea. So they make the law. How it is made, etc., I will tell later. So they make the law. Who makes the law? The parliament. Now, the executives, they will execute the law. So who consists of executive? So there are two types of executive: political executive, okay, and permanent executive. Okay, there is political executive and there is permanent executive. Who are the political executives? Those who are temporary. Okay, those who are elected. Your at the center, who is it? Your Prime Minister and President, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. They constitute your political executive. Are they permanent? No. Okay, they come for 5 years or less than 5 years. Okay, so President, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Now, President is there in both. Prime Minister also should be a member of Parliament. Council of Minister also should be member of Parliament in India. So our system is little bit different. Okay, so this is the parliamentary democracy. We don't get confused for now. So Parliament, then you have your political and permanent. Who are the permanent? Who are the permanent? Bureaucrats. Yes? Bureaucrats. They are the permanent. What you are aspiring for is permanent. And judiciary. At the highest level, we have the Supreme Court. Correct? So this is at the union level. What about the state level? Yes, legislature. Who is it? Legislative Assembly. Yes, Legislative Assembly. Some states have two houses, upper house and lower house. What is the upper house called? Legislative Council. Okay, Legislative Council. Who are the executive? Political. Who is political? So you have governor also, correct? At the state, like president, you have the governor. Yes. Executive at the state, who is it? Governor, then Chief Minister and Council of Ministers. And permanent executive is again bureaucrats, KAS officers. At the center, you consider it as IAS officers. Okay, and then judiciary. What do you have at state level? High courts. So this is how it is at the state level. Same system. Is that okay? So in India, the executive is part of the legislature. At least the political executive is also part of legislature. Don't write down all this, confuse yourself now only. I'm just telling you. And then judiciary is a separate integrated system. Judiciary, separate integrated system. They're independent. That means we have Supreme Court, we have High Court, and we have District Court and Subordinate Court. It is independent, it is integrated, and it is single. Integrated means single. For the entire country, one judicial system. They are not different. They are the same. So high courts are there for every state. Again, they all come under the Supreme Court. That means you go on appeal to the Supreme Court. So that is the meaning of integrated judicial system. Integrated judicial independent system. All that we will understand in the future. I'm just giving you a broad overview as to what we study. So you have the people, the nation, to administer the nation. You have this system. All this is provided within our constitution. Okay, so as to administer our nation effectively. Okay, so some words like legislature, executive, judiciary. Did you all understand now? Any doubt? Online students, any doubt? If you have understood, we'll move on. We will repeat it several times so that you will understand it. All these things in detail we will be studying. Okay, so with that understanding, let's move on. Okay, so first we'll start with understanding the concepts terms. Today we will understand some terms, concepts relating to constitution, democracy, political system, etc. Then we will have to do the next chapter, salient features of Indian Constitution. Okay. Then there is something called as preamble, union and its territory. See, before we go into the chapters, let me tell you how the Constitution works. Now, you understood. So just imagine. So to understand the entire Indian Constitution, let's say this book is the Indian Constitution. Okay. So how is the Indian Constitution divided? Okay. So first you have a preamble. Every book will have an introduction. The book will have introduction. So that introduction to Indian Constitution is called as the preamble. So when you open the Indian Constitution, first what will you find is the preamble. Okay. So then once you open the preamble, the entire Indian Constitution is divided into parts. Is that okay? So you have the preamble. You have 25 parts. Okay, part 1, part 2. If you open, you will see part 1. Under that, you have articles, like chapters. Part 1 is one chapter. Part 2 is another chapter, like that. So part 1, part 2. How many parts are there? 25. So there are 25 chapters. You can imagine. So under each part, there are articles. Under each part, there are articles. So each part or each chapter deals with one aspect of the political system. Democratic political system. Under that, articles, they elaborate certain things. So how many articles are there? 470 articles. Okay. Then, followed by that, there are 12 schedules. So at the end of the articles, you will find schedules. First schedule, second. So what are these schedules? Basically, some articles require details, specific details, to get more or to give more clarity. So that is mentioned in the 12th schedule. 12 schedules. And then you have appendices. Like any book, if you have seen any standard books, at the end there will be appendices, meaning explanations. Appendices are explanations. So there are 5 appendices. So if you open the book, this is how it will look. Now, how have they arranged these parts? Not randomly. Okay, you might think, see, if you have to by heart it, you will by heart it without understanding. Now, if you understand how these parts are arranged, they're very systematically, meaningfully arranged, like a story. Is that okay? So you will understand it, then you can remember it. See, for example, now, obviously, first to any book, there should be an introduction. So what is the first in our Constitution? The introduction, which is nothing but preamble. Right? So preamble is in the beginning. Then part 1. Okay, so the Constitution is for which country? India. So the first part will define what is India. You understood? So the Constitution, is it US Constitution? Is it Japan Constitution? No, it is which Constitution? Indian Constitution. So part 1 should define what? So part 1 should contain what? What is India? Which territory is India? Or how is it India? What is India as a nation? All of that is explained in part 1. All of that is explained in part 1. And how many articles? These and all later you remember. Don't worry now. I'm just trying to give you how the Constitution is and how we will also study them. Okay. So first part about India, Union and its territory. 1 to 4 article deals with various aspects of India, Union territory, states, how is states formed, everything. Okay. Then the Indian Constitution, okay, is for India and for whom? Whom? Indians. So the second part should define citizens. So part 2 deals with what? Citizens. Simple. Okay. Now, once after the Constitution defines who are Indians, now Indians versus non-Indians, how do you differentiate? Indians have special rights. Only when rights are given to us, it becomes meaningful. If we don't have rights, we are not citizens. We will become slaves. So, citizenship will become meaningful only if rights are given to us. We are not in a monarchy. We are not in some slave state. We are all having rights. So, therefore, part 3 deals with what? Are you understanding how you can remember it like a story? So, part 1 defines what is India. Part 2 defines who are Indians. Part 3 give them rights. Rights have been given to you. Okay, but that's not enough. Along with rights, what else are given to you by the state? By a country, what else is given by it? Do they give you education? Do they give you health care? Do they give you clean air, roads? They're supposed to give, that's a different thing. Let's assume, but because of there are roads, there is security, there is police, yes, there is safety, there is welfare. For example, you want to travel, women, if you want to travel in bus, you get free bus service. Now, who is giving that? Who is giving that? The government is giving. Why is it giving? Why is it giving? Because that is their duty, to establish a welfare state. Only then citizenship will become truly meaningful. Alva, bari rights kotbittu without any facilities, would it be meaningful? No. You have the rights, and at the same time, you also are provided with welfare. Okay. Now, that welfare is provided in part 4 of the Indian Constitution, called as DPSP. So if you see here, DPSP means Directive Principles of State Policy. Who is giving you a free bus? The state is giving you a free bus. It's a policy. Policy under a decision by the government. So the government has taken a policy to give you all free bus service. Okay. So what should be given in the policy is mentioned in the Constitution itself. Okay, that's why the word directive. Directive means to give direction. To whom? To whom? This Constitution, this book, Constitution, is giving direction to whom? To the government. For what? To establish a welfare state. When we say welfare state, means what? Welfare andre eno? To take care. Alva. So who is taking care? The government is taking care of you. COVID aitu, government took care of you. Yes, oil prices is increasing. Government is trying to take care of you. Roads are being given, hospitals, vaccinations, electricity, housing. Free housings are given to people who don't have house. So, yenen madbeku, what the government should do in order to establish a welfare state so as to make citizenship truly meaningful is also provided in the Indian Constitution. Without that, citizenship would become waste. You are a citizen of India and you are staying here and not running away because you get benefit from the states. Whether you accept it or not, you are using a lot of benefits from the state. You use roads, you use public transport. All these are responsibility of the state. You have security. Yes, there are a lot of things that needs to improve, which again the directive principle of state says. Did you understand what is the meaning of directive principles of state policy? What should the state do while making policies? Okay, broad principles. They are not specific. They are broad principles. Do you understand? Principles andre, they are not very specific. For example, what it says, everybody should be treated equally. Now, how do you do that? That is left to the government. Okay, how to do it is left to the government. This only deals with principle. You can see, for example, I will tell you, you should be honest in life. Honesty is a principle, but how will you do it? It's left to you. Understood? So these directions. So that is found in part 4 of Indian Constitution. Then later sometime, our lawmakers realized that people should not be only given rights. They should also be given duties. Okay, so they added this later, okay, called as Part 4A, which deals with fundamental duties. Alva, we see now in social media, civic sense illa, duties illa, henge ellello kasa esitare, right? So that's an example of lack of civic duties. So we realized that, and we added a separate part in our constitution called as fundamental duties. So citizenship will become truly meaningful when citizens know their rights and also know their duties. So we added this to truly make citizenship complete. So as citizenship, we have rights, we have welfare obligation on the state, and the fundamental duties. So this is how the constitution opens. Is that understood? Any doubt? Now, citizens and all, their rights, their duties, their welfare, everything is taken care. Now, how this is going to be executed? That is in the next part. So to execute that, we need a government system. So after all of this, what starts is the government system. So the next, from fundamental duties onwards, what is it? The system of governance. So what is the next part? Part 5. So what will part 5 deal with? The central government. Okay, part 5 will deal with central government. What will part 6 deal with? State government. State government. Did you understand? So any doubts now? Do you have to by heart it? No, it is simple. So you have part 1, what is India? Part 2, who are Indians? Part 3, rights. Part 4, welfare, TPSP. Part 4A, fundamental duties. Part 5, central government. So if you see central government, everything, legislature, executive, and judiciary, everything what central government deals with. So if you see here, everything. So in that part 5, there is central executive, central legislature, legislative power, union judiciary, everything. Okay. Same way if you see state government, state executive, state legislature, legislative power, high courts, okay, subordinate courts, everything is mentioned in part 6. Okay. Now, this is deleted, part 7. Okay, it dealt with part B states. Don't worry, we'll do that later. Okay, for now you remember that it has been deleted. Okay, then, so in our country, we have central government, we have state government. We have one more unit of administratives, okay, which is called as union territory. Do you all agree with that? Yes, 8 union territories are there. Alva? Okay, Puducherry, Delhi, yes, Ladakh, and all of that. So you have union territories. Also, I told you, you have local bodies. So one, you have the panchayats, and one, you have the urban local bodies. Urban local bodies. Panchayats are the rural local bodies, urban local body or municipalities and all that. Then, in addition to that, in India, we have tribals who have different culture, distinctive culture from rest of the Indians. So for their administration, we have a separate provision. Some tribal areas, okay, in some states, they are administered very differently. So I'll call it as tribal areas. They are also administered very differently. Is that okay, guys? So now leave the parts. So you have central government, you have state government, you have panchayats, union territory, you have panchayats, you have urban local bodies, you have tribes. These are all different administrative systems. So ours is very flexible constitution. It deals with specific problems. We don't have one single system for the entire country. Is that okay? Union territory means they are administered differently. State means they are administered differently. Local bodies have different provisions. Tribal areas, different provisions. So all of that is also provided in the constitution. So now you understood. Central government is part 5. State government is part 6. 7 is deleted. Okay. 8 deals with union territory. Then panchayats 9. Local bodies 9. Okay. Municipalities is 9A. Because both were added later. So 9 and 9A. 73rd, 74th constitutional amendment they were added. Okay. So 9 and 9A. Leave this. Cooperative society, this was also added later. For now, we'll not worry about in our story. Okay. You have 9B, cooperative society, and then 10 is tribal areas. So this is how you also can try and remember. Okay. So 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. This is the administrative system. Other the details after we will discuss. Then what happens after this? It continues with the administrative system. Like you have part 9, which talks about the relationship between center and state, both 11 and 12. Both 11 and 12 deals with what? Center-state relationship. Okay. Your 11th deals with legislative and administrative. 12th deals with financial. Taxes, other bagyala deals with in the 12th part. 12th part, 11th part. So because now we have defined all parts, I mean all system of admin, center, state, union territory, everything. Center state in our federal system, there has to be a relationship. Otherwise, they'll keep fighting with each other. To avoid that fighting, what we have done? We have provided in the constitution. So any problem, what they will do? They will open the constitution and see who is right and who is. See, legislative relationship and all of that. Now, for example, governors. Okay, what happens? Central government is which party? BJP. State is which party? Congress. Okay, so there will be conflict. State will try to do something. Okay, center will not approve it because governor is appointed by whom? The central government. So he acts as an agent of center. Okay, so there will be some friction. Chief Minister will say, do this. Governor will say, I won't do this. You would have seen in the news. That time what they will do? They will go to the court. Court will do what? Court will open part 11 of the Indian Constitution and say, this article says this, you are wrong or you are right. Understood? So that's the relation because there's going to be conflict between the two. We'll see all that conflict later. Okay. Adagi, other things, miscellaneous. This entire thing is miscellaneous. Tribunals, elections, okay, language, emergency provisions, amendment to constitutions, and blah, blah, blah. All these things are there. So this is not so important to remember the parts. Certain provisions, we'll discuss it in detail. Other parts, if you remember, it's more than enough. Is that okay? These parts, like emergency, you just remember that it is part 18. Randomly, you remember. It's not in a proper, meaningful order for me to tell you as a story. But at least this you understood now, at least till here, what parts. So like that, you have other things. Now, schedule. Okay, so schedule, if you see, the first schedule. What are schedules I told you? some things which require detailed explanation or detailed content, they are mentioned in it. So for example, okay, 28 states and 8 union territories, other the names. If it is mentioned in the actual constitution, it becomes too big. So it is mentioned in the schedule. What is there? Names and states of the union territories. Is that okay? Second schedule talks about the emolument, allowance, privileges of president, governor, speaker, chairman, or the salary, what their powers are, etc. All of that is mentioned in the second schedule. Okay, these and all we'll discuss later. Okay, third schedule talks about the oath and affirmation. You might have seen Chief Minister, Prime Minister taking oath. So it has to be in a fixed pattern. You saw the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, he gave, full movie style oath. Then the governor said, Macha, come here. You can't do this. You have to tell the oath according to which schedule? Third schedule. You go and if you Google, you will get this one. What? The oath. You can't change it. It has to be how it is. Only your name you can add in that. Is that okay? Right? So the oath of union ministry, etc., is mentioned over here. Then fourth schedule, allocation of seat to Rajya Sabha. Fifth schedule, all this we'll discuss later. So this is how the Indian constitution. So schedules, you understood what is their detailed explanation. Like eighth schedule talks about language, official languages of India recognized by the constitution. So somebody who will come and say that Hindi is our national language, then nothing like that. There is only languages which is officially recognized by the Indian constitution under the 8th schedule. What are those languages mentioned here? Okay, so like this you have different schedules. Did you all understand this? Appendices? Okay, no. So now with that basic understanding, let's go back to our syllabus, what we are going to study. Okay. So what are the various chapters we will study? Okay, so first we will understand the terms and concepts and we'll discuss the salient features of Indian Constitution. Then the first chapter is the preamble. Then the next chapter is Union and its territory. What is India? How is states created? How is states' names changed? Okay, all of that. Like for example, Jammu and Kashmir was a state not long before. Yes, now is it? It has been divided. So how did that happen? How can we do it? How can we change the name? Okay. Then citizenship. How to acquire citizenship. How can you become an Indian citizen? How can you lose citizenship? Okay. Fundamental rights. Okay. Then directive principle of state policy. Then fundamental duties. Right. So these are all part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and part 4A. All of that is covered here. Then our administrative system. The next chapter, what we'll be discussing, central government, where we'll discuss about president, vice president, prime minister, council of ministers, parliament, judiciary. Then we will study state government, governor, CM, council of ministers, state legislature, high courts, subordinate courts, and special provisions of some states. Like you might have heard of Article 370, which was removed, which gave special status to Jammu and Kashmir. Then you might have heard of Article 371J, to whom? Karnataka, right? Special provision for Karnataka under Article 371J. So all these special provisions are there. We'll discuss that later. Then local bodies, urban, rural, union territories, and special areas for whom? Tribals. Then some other important things like working of Indian Constitution, like how is the Constitution amended? What are the emergency provision? Center-state relationship, legislative relationship, executive relationship, and financial relationship. There is no judicial relationship because judiciary is separate, independent. Okay. Then interstate issues. Is that okay? River disputes, okay, border disputes, and all of that. Okay. Then something like elections and all of that. Then one more feature of Indian Constitution is that there are some independent bodies provided by the Constitution itself for specific functions. Can you give some example? Election Commission, your UPSC, KPSC. It's also a special body whose provision is provided in the Constitution itself. Whose provision is provided within the Constitution itself. Okay, so for special purpose. Special purpose. Now, Election Commission, what is it for? Conducting free, fair elections. What is UPSC for? UPSC, KPSC. It is meant for conducting recruitment of higher bureaucrats. Yes. Similarly, you have National Commission for Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe, OBC, etc. So these are also provided in the Constitution. So they work towards the interest of specific people like that. So these are what are called as what? Constitutional bodies. Why they are called constitutional bodies? Because their provisions, powers, scope of work, responsibilities, everything is mentioned in the Constitution. Who appoints them, what should be their qualification, how many members are there, everything. Okay, so these are constitutional bodies. Then there are something called as non-constitutional. This is not mentioned in the Constitution. That's why they're called as non-constitutional bodies. Okay, so they are outside the, their provision is outside the body. I'll give you an example. National Commission for Human Rights or Pollution Control Board. Okay, NGT, National Green Tribunal. These are all special bodies meant for special purpose. Like Pollution Control Board is for what? Obviously for pollution. Is it mentioned in the Constitution? No. So it is mentioned elsewhere. Okay. So a law is made, separate law, like National Human Rights Act, under which National Human Rights Commission is set up. So therefore they are called as statutory bodies. What are they called? Statutory bodies. Statute means law. So they are enacted, they are created by what? They are created by specific laws. What are constitutional bodies? Their power is mentioned in the Constitution itself. What are statutory bodies? A separate law is enacted either by the Parliament or by the state legislature. Now you have a State Human Rights Commission. Who has made that? It's again central law only, but like you can have a separate law. Now, Information Commission. Have you heard? Information Commission. Under the Right to Information Act, they've created a body called as Information Commission. So like that, important information commissions, bodies meant for specific things has to be, is also provided. Matlab, it empowers the center and the state to make a law, to create specialized bodies, which is not there in the Constitution. Is that okay, guys? Right. See, for example, new bodies also can be created within the Constitution. Like the last National Commission for OBC. Okay, that was created by the Constitution by amending the Constitution. So we have to also study constitutional and non-constitutional bodies. Is that okay? So these are the chapters under which we will be covering Indian polity. Is that okay? Some understanding as we go, it will become better. Okay, some terms are new for you guys. Otherwise, all these things will be explained in detail as we go. At least now some idea did you get? So basically we'll be studying the entire Indian Constitution. So again, to repeat, how we'll be studying? So we will study the preamble, which is the introduction. Then part 1, which is Indian Union Territory, Union and its territory. 2, citizens. 3, rights. 4, duties. Yes, and sorry, DPSP. 4A, yes, duties. Okay. Then comes administrative system. So part 5, union government, central government. Then state government. Yes, then union territories. Then local bodies. Then tribal areas. Then center-state relationship. And then miscellaneous things. So if you see any constitution, actual book, you can download the PDF of the actual constitution. It will be like this. But when we read it, we have to analyze it, we have to interpret it, we have to, mix, match, and all of that, and try to understand the whole thing. Okay? So when I told you legislature, executive, judiciary, citizenship, so the entire constitution deals with the relationship of people and government, and also within the government. Alva. So what center state, what state, everything. What does citizenship, fundamental rights, DPSP, fundamental duties do? It defines the relationship between whom? Between the government and people. So what does center state and all of that do? It defines the relationship between the government. Okay, na? So yes, so like this, I will completely cover the entire polity syllabus. Okay. You can refer our material, as I told you over here. So this has been updated and you can read it. Okay, it is more than enough along with our class notes. Quite detailed, everything is covered with lot of questions after each chapter, if you have seen. So once you finish each chapter, solve that questions. We will solve here also, and we will give you weekly test. So solve the test and you will develop the skill. What I told you in the beginning, understanding, practice. Understand, practice. So about 25 days of class, entire polity, you should be very comfortable if you do this. Okay, along with me, if you do this, go back home, quickly revise. You might have to spend about 1 hour to 2 hours to revise what we have done in the class. Our next day will be easier. Otherwise, next day you'll be seeing stars, moons, and all. Only if you revise and come, you'll be able to understand. Practice MCQs to develop the skills. Okay, na? So this is what. Otherwise, the standard books like Lakshmikant, D.D. Basu, there's so many other books. I mean, it's up to you, but stick to one source. Yes. Okay. So with that, we'll start with the salient feature of Indian Constitution. Along with that, terms and concepts, which you might be using in the future. If you don't understand any term which is new, you ask me. Even if you otherwise, you can also, Google, you will find all of that. Is that okay? So keep, writing whatever is there on the book, understand and write. Okay, so that your own notes, when you revise, it will be very easy to do it. Okay. Yes, salient feature of Indian Constitution. Now, first of all, what is Constitution? What is Constitution? Now, see, I told you, our nation is made up of people. To govern its people, India has a constitution. Okay, so we need to have laws, rules, regulations to run the country. Yes, if you take any organization also, they should have rules, regulations. Same way, a country also needs laws, rules, regulations to govern its people, to define the relationship between people. So to govern or authorities between the government or authority. Did you understand this? Yes, we need to define relation between government and people. See, for example, okay, I have the freedom of speech and expression, which is guaranteed under Article 19A of Indian Constitution, which guarantees me freedom of speech and expression. As an example, so what does it say? It says that the state cannot restrict my freedom of speech. The government cannot restrict the freedom of speech. So it is defining the relationship between government and people. The constitution telling the government, dude, you can't restrict people's speech. Now, if I am criticizing the government, if I tell, hey, CM, you are corrupt, Okay, it is my freedom. The government cannot do anything about it. Okay, defines the relation between people. Our fundamental right also says there shall be no practice of untouchability. Now, I can't discriminate you. I can't say, oh, I'm not going to touch you. You are untouchable. I can't do that. If I do that, I'm violating the Constitution. So it is defining the relationship between people. I cannot discriminate. Article 21 says right to life. I can't kill you because the Constitution defines the relation. I have to ensure your right to life. Same way between the government, center-state relationship. Between different authorities. What should the president do? What should the prime minister do? What is the relationship? It is defined. So we have to define it. So all of that. And the basic principles of government. Principles of government. Correct? We should have this to have a good system to run our country. Yes or no? So for that, we need law. We need a law. We need laws. We need laws. So the supreme law of our country is Constitution. We have several laws. The supreme laws of all of them is Constitution. So what is Constitution? The fundamental and supreme law of the land. Because law is necessary to run any nation. Because it is useful to govern. It defines the relationship, also principles of governance. So law defines that. So out of that, the most supreme fundamental law of our nation is called as the Constitution. When we say supreme fundamental means no other law can violate the Constitution. No other law can violate the Constitution. We can have laws, correct? Now, see, for example, right to information is a law which is enacted by the Parliament. In a circumstance where this law violates the Constitution, they have no place in our country. All laws, all other laws, all other customs, rules must confer to the Indian Constitution. Otherwise, they have no place in our nation. All laws, rules, regulation, customs also. Customs. Customs means something which is traditionally practiced. Is that okay? Now, for example, untouchability. Yes, dowry. Women not being allowed into religious places. It might have been customs. Women not allowed to inherit properties. It might have been a custom. They have no place in Indian system because it violates the Indian Constitution. Is that okay? Yes. There's no exception. It is absolute. Is that okay? No, so it is an interpretation. See, right to life, whose life? Yes, so there is always going to be conflict. We'll come to all of that. That's okay. Like, see, for example, why go this one, abortion? There's no, it's a very scientific discussion. Now, euthanasia. Have you heard of euthanasia? What is euthanasia? Mercy killing. Yes, recently, Supreme Court ordered mercy killing took place, first in India. Mercy killing means somebody who is in the terminally ill, okay, and has no chance of revival. Okay, we can terminate their life. So you can ask the same question. Isn't it violation of Indian Constitution? Supreme Court said no. Why? Because no, not exception. It is right to life. Now, right to life is guaranteed under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. Right to life and personal dignity. Okay, so Supreme Court is the one who will interpret the Constitution. Now, when we say right to life, see, I will go and put you in one room, lock you. And I say, see, you have right to life because you are living, breathing. Is it right to life? Was a question. Supreme Court said right to life means not just living, but also dignified life. What is dignified life? Are you understanding? Dignified life. Whatever dignified life means, right to privacy is dignified life. If somebody is peeping and watching you, is it dignified life? Right to clean air is a dignified life. Right to education is a dignified life. Right to live or right to die, dignified, is also right to. So if you are suffering in life, that is not dignified life. So therefore, you have the right to terminate your life. It is not dignified. So the true meaning of life was interpreted by Supreme Court, and it widened the scope of Article 21 to say right to life also gives you the right to end the life if it is not dignified. If somebody is lying on the bed without no hope of surviving, with tubes everywhere, suffering every day, is not a dignified life. So right to die is also a right which is derived by the Supreme Court under Article 21. All this I have to explain when we do fundamental rights. Since you asked, I'm telling. Right to suicide, or suicide, it's not a criminal offense anymore. Because under Article 21, Supreme Court interpreted that somebody who wants to commit suicide should not be punished. They should be counseled, which is dignified life. So under Article 21, it has banned the punishment or suicide also. So what you said relates to that. Anyways, so did you all understand? So any law, customs, rules must be in conformation with Constitution. Otherwise, they will be held as unconstitutional, invalid, and struck down. So like this, several such laws, customs, rules have been struck down by the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court interprets the highest court interprets the Constitution. If there is any confusion, now you ask doubts, no, like that. People have been asking doubts for 7 decades. So who will interpret it? On Supreme Court. Okay. Right. So it contains, as I told you, principles and framework of functioning of government. What should be the governance and all of that. It also prescribes the extent of sovereign power, andre relationship between people and government. What the government cannot do and can do. When you're walking on the road, can the government catch you and put you in jail simply because it is bored? Does it have absolute power? No. Why it doesn't have absolute power? Because the Constitution defines the power. If Constitution was not there, government could do whatever it wants. Yeah. Whichever dictatorial government is there, or monarchical government, munche, okay, they will catch anybody, put you in jail because they can do it. But here, prescribes the extent, meaning it limits the power of whom? Limits the power of whom? Of the government. Very important, because of ours is a constitutional democracy. Yes, because the Constitution prevents our elected representative, governments, bureaucrats, anybody from becoming tyrannical, andre dictatorial. It limits their power and defines the relationship between government, people, and all of it. Is that okay? Any doubt in this slide? When we say law, these are terms that you should be aware of. I'm just trying to explain law or an act. So what is it? It's a system of rules and regulation. Correct? To run the country, we need rules and regulation. So that is nothing but law. Okay, who makes law in our country? Legislature, parliament, or state. Okay, why do they do it? To regulate the conduct of its people. So there are laws. Traffic law is there. Motor Vehicle Act. Motor Vehicle Act. All of you have heard. So helmet hakobeku, seat belt hakobeku. You should not skip signal. If accident is there, what will you do? All of that is mentioned in this Motor Vehicle Act. Okay, it's a law made by whom? by the legislature. For what? To conduct your business. Otherwise, you will be doing wheeling and going. You're not allowed to do wheeling because the law is there. It is to regulate the conduct of you and me. Okay. And when you violate, what will happen? When you violate, there is obviously punishment. Now, the supreme law of our land is Constitution. This you have understood. Now, what are rules and regulations? Law is very broad. Okay, there has to be a detailed specificity which is mentioned in rules and regulations. Now, for example, Motor Vehicle Act is a very broad provisions. Otherly, if you don't wear helmet, how much fine should be given? Who will put the fine? Okay. If you don't wear seat belt, how much? If you are caught drunk and drive, what will happen? All the detailed things are mentioned in rules. Did you understand? So just to give you an idea, see, you can see here. See now, Right to Information Act, have you heard? RTI. What do you do in that? If you want any information from the government, you can write and submit it, and the government is obligated to give you that information. That is mentioned in the Act. But how should you write? In how many days the government has to give you the reply? What will happen if they don't give? What penalty, etc. Those are mentioned in the rules. You understood? So there is a law. Under the law, we have to make rules. There is a law. Under the law, we make rules and regulations. So rules are there. Okay, this law has to be in tune with the Constitution. It cannot violate the Constitution. So who makes the law? Legislature. Then who makes the rules? Rules are made by the executive to implement the law. See, law is made by legislature, but who has to execute it? The executive. To execute it, they need detailed rules. It cannot be ambiguous. Helmet hakondilla andre, if you don't wear helmet, how much should be the penalty? It cannot be vague. Today is Monday, I will put 1,000 rupees. You are a rich person, you give me so much. It cannot be. The rules are very clear. Okay, now same way. See, Right to Information Act. Who has made this law? This law was made by the Parliament in 2005. The law gives citizens the right to seek information from public authority. But who will implement it? Who will implement it? The executive. So the executives in turn will make rules. The rules like, okay, the rule is Right to Information Rule 2012 May they made rules. Okay, it's a huge, some 200 pages document. Our rules only, it will be there. What should be done, etc. The procedure for the application, what fee you have to pay, what should be the format, what is the appeal procedure. If they don't get information, what next? Explains how RTA application can be done. So the rules help in implementation of the law. Rules help in the implementation of the law. Did you all understand this? So that is rules. Okay, you can write down this, right? So law you have written, okay? Law is structured system of rules and regulations. Law or act. Law or act, system of rules and regulation by legislature. Why? Conduct of individual business. Okay, violation, punishment. So this is law. This is law. You can write down detailed provision in order to implement the law. In order to implement the law. Made by whom? Executive. Under the powers delegated by the legislature. Delegated means to transfer. Because they don't have expertise. Who doesn't have expertise? The legislature. Meaning their MPs, MLS. Or again, what knowledge they will have? They will not. So they will in turn tell it to bureaucrats. Macha, you do the rules. I have made the law. You do the rules to implement it. So the bureaucrats all will sit and use ChatGPT to make the rules. Okay, na? Anyways, just kidding, but they'll all come together and frame the specific rules. Okay, na? Why? Because to run the country, you need specific details. It cannot be ambiguous. Detailed, what time you have to come, what you have to do, what not. Everything has to be very detailed to provide procedural guidance for enforcing the act. Procedural guidance. It's all very systematic, objective, unbiased. Okay, so there is no subjectivity. Police cannot be like, whatever you see is different. Okay, police cannot be like simply, catch people, do whatever they want. There are rules and now if you know the constitution, it's empowering you also. Tomorrow if they catch you, okay, and say, why are you doing this? You're like, which provision? Show me the rules. Is that okay? So the rules will be made for implementing the law. Now, there is another word, regulations. So regulations are like rules only, but they are made by specific statutory and regulatory authority. I'll give you an example. RBI. What is RBI? Reserve Bank of India. What is one of the functions of RBI? To regulate banks, correct? So tomorrow they will come with like, your UPI. How much transaction you can make in UPI per day? 1 lakh. Why? No, I want to do any amount. But only why 1 lakh? Because RBI has said only 1 lakh. So RBI has issued a regulation to regulate the banking activity. Same way, there are several regulatory bodies. Have you heard of SEBI? SEBI is for which sector? Share market, stock mix market, etc. Okay, like that you have NABARD for rural sector. So there are specific sector. Now, Election Commission also will issue regulations. So what are these? Are specific directives issued by statutory and regulatory body. For what? To govern the technical. Now, to withdraw 1 lakh rupees or limitation, that's a technical things. If you ask them, they'll say there is that problem, this problem, etc. Technical things, administrative or sector specific matters. Now, if you want to invest in share markets, okay, there are certain guidelines. You have to, give your PAN card. You have to link your Aadhaar linked bank account, etc. Now, those are all technical or administrative sector specific matters. So, what is the status? It has legal force in that sector. It is binding. You can't violate. If banks violate RBI regulations, what will happen? Bank will be penalized. If you do some scam in security markets, share markets, what will happen? You will be punished. No internal trading allowed. What is internal trading? Have you heard? Internal trading? Inside trading, sorry. Insiders trading. Share market mein, if you know some internal, if it is your company and you buy or sell shares, knowing that information, that is called as internal. So that's not allowed. If you do that, you will be arrested. Under what? Regulations issued by SEBI. So legal force binding within their respective domain. Now, why are we doing all of this? Because our constitution says any law, any rules, any regulation, if it violates the constitution, that means if there is any conflict between constitution and regulation, rules or law, which one will be struck down? If RBI issues some regulation which is unconstitutional, it will not have any power in India. That's what I want you to understand. So you all got it. And then you have the customs. So what is Indian Constitution? Indian Constitution is the supreme law of our nation. It says that any law or act, any rules or any regulation or customs, if it violates the constitution, it shall be held as unconstitutional. Is that okay? So some example, like if you see here this table, constitution, right to freedom of speech and expression. So under that principle, we have enacted a law called as Right to Information Act. We have a rules called as RTI rules. There are procedures to fill, pay, prescribe, form, etc. Did you understand? So this is the hierarchy. What is the hierarchy? Which is the supreme constitution. Next comes law. Then comes rules and regulation. Because rules and regulation cannot violate the law under which it is made. You understood? Like the rules cannot violate the law. The law cannot violate the constitution. Okay. So you have the constitution under which laws are made, or laws are made, under which rules are made. Okay. And then you have the procedure to execute these. Okay. Now, any doubt so far? See, like SEBI. Okay. SEBI has regulations, lays down details required for listing of company. If tomorrow you want to list your company in the stock market, how to do it, how much money you should have, what are the safeguards you should do, etc. Ensure transparency and protection of investors. So that is an example of regulation. So under the SEBI Act, the SEBI is empowered to issue regulations. For what purpose? To ensure transparency and investor protection. This is an example of regulation. Can it violate the constitution? No. So this is the meaning of what is constitution. So Indian constitution is the longest constitution. Okay, longest written constitution. Indian constitution is the longest written. It has almost 1,45,000 words. So when was it adopted? These are all facts. Okay. And there is one more chapter called as the history of Indian constitution. Okay. That will be done as part of your history. Okay. Let's not confuse it right now. We'll just finish the Indian constitution. Later, I will touch upon how our Indian constitution came into being and all of that. Okay. We'll do the constitution. Main thing we'll do. Okay. When was it adopted? November 26, 1949. And obviously, you know, it came into force on 26 January 1950. Okay. So when it came into force on November 26 January 1950, it had 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedules. Right now, it has a preamble, 470 articles divided into 25 parts, 12 schedule, 5 appendices, and it has been amended. So our Indian constitution is not rigid. Okay, it is a very dynamic document. Dynamic means it changes depending upon the requirements, needs of the people, context of our nation, and maturity of our country. Okay, so accordingly, it undergoes change. So we have amended, since its enactment, we have amended it 106 times. 106 times it has been changed. For example, the last one in 2023. If you might have read or watched news, recently the government tried to amend the constitution. Yes, but it was held as, it did not pass because it did not get the required majority. The last was in 2023, Nari Shakti Vandan Abhinayam, okay, which provided reservation for women, 33% reservation for women in the parliament and state legislature. So this is how now I have already given you an idea as to how the constitution looks and all of that, right? So this is how we have discussed this. So all these details are there in your textbook also. You can read it at the end of our classes. So then quickly you will understand. Now, don't worry, don't burden yourself with too much facts. Try and understand the concepts, right? Part 1, part 2, part 3, all this, even before the exam, you can quickly read through and go and give your exam, because you can't remember it after some time. Okay. So schedules, all of that, and recent amendments. Okay. So the 100th amendment was with respect to exchange of land between India and Bangladesh. I'll tell you that later. 101 GST. 102 National Commission for Backward Caste. 103 10% reservation for EWS, economically weaker section. 104 extending SC/ST reservation by another 10 years. 105th, state government to identify their own OBC list. And the last one, 106th, to do with women. Have you written this? 106, women reservation. Another important one is 103. Write down this, 103, reservation to EWS, 10%. 101, GST. Okay, these are all important amendments. And 100, India-Bangladesh exchange of land. Simple match the following also can be asked. So it becomes important. Okay, now these are okay. Fine, you can write down, but GST, all these are important. Okay. Now we are doing what? Features. Unique character of Indian Constitution. Before we start our chapters, preamble and all that. Unique feature. First, what I told you, it is the largest written constitution. Okay, so constitution, there are two types. Across the world, if you compare, there are written constitution and unwritten constitution. Britain has an unwritten constitution. Okay, India, US, Japan, all these countries have written constitution. What does that mean? What do you mean by written and unwritten constitution? Yes. What do you mean by that? It means Britain there is no written constitution. What does that mean? Nobody knows what is a constitution? Or it is secret, only the king knows? What does unwritten constitution means? It doesn't mean that it is not in any document. No. It is documented, but it is not codified. I'll repeat again. Written means it is codified. Unwritten means it is not codified into one single systematic document. Now, when I tell you Indian Constitution is written, okay, you can write down the difference table, written and unwritten. Table, written and unwritten. Very important. All these concepts can be asked in the exam. Are you understanding? They are not codified into one single document. They are not codified into one single document. See, again, you should see the history behind it. When we say codified, what codified means, the entire constitution is very systematically arranged. It is very systematically arranged. Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. It is very clearly mentioned. Any book relating to Indian Constitution you take, it is going to be the same. That is the meaning it is codified. When I say Article 20, once you understand, will there be any confusion? It's going to be the same. That is the meaning of codified. Whereas Britain Constitution did not come into force on one single day. In India, it came into force on one single day. 1950, January 26, Indian Constitution. Right? We framed the Indian Constitution. We had a Constituent Assembly which sat together, wrote down, drafted the entire Constitution, and everybody signed, and it came into force on one single day. It was enacted. Whereas Britain Constitution is evolved. It did not come into picture on one single day. Whenever they felt, they went on adding it. They did not have a conscious attempt to frame a constitution. So there is no one single document. There are multiple documents and laws, okay, which is given the constitutional status. Okay, now, so what is written? Codified into one single document. If you read Lakshmikant, you read our textbook, you read D.D. Basu, or you read the original textbook. Okay, Article 1 is the same. Article 2 is the same. Whereas unwritten, not codified. It is spread across multiple laws and regulations. Is that okay? Now, that is the easy part. The other parts you should also understand. If you have any doubt, you should ask me now only. Did you understand this? Written means it is codified. Unwritten means not codified. Next, it is enacted. Who enacted our constitution? Constituent Assembly. Here, it is evolved. Over centuries, it has evolved and it is still evolving. Okay, now, there is no difference between there is a difference between constitutional law and ordinary law. What do you mean by constitutional law? I told you, constitution is supreme law. What are the other laws? Other than constitution, which are enacted by whom? Legislature and, Parliament and state legislature. So there is a difference between constitutional law and ordinary law. See, ordinary law can be made by simple procedure, whereas constitutional law can be made by only special procedure, which I'll explain later. Don't worry about it now. How many times constitutional law has been made in India? 106 times. Only 106 times constitutional law has been made in India, meaning changes to the existing constitution, which requires special procedure. Without that, it will fail. That's why recent 106 bill failed. Whereas ordinary law, how many laws have been made? Hundreds of them. Since independence, hundreds of laws have been made by whom? By the Parliament as well as state legislature. So there is distinction. Ordinary law, day to day they'll be making, not a problem, because it requires only a simple procedure. It's easy to make, I'll tell you later. Whereas constitutional law, to change the constitution requires a very difficult procedure. Whereas unwritten law may no special procedure, because all laws are constitutional laws. Any law that is made will become Right to Information Act. Okay. So any law made by the Parliament will automatically become the Constitution in unwritten. Okay. So who is more supreme in India? Constitution or the Parliament who makes the law? Who is supreme? In India, who is supreme? Parliament or the Constitution? Constitution. Because Constitution is the supreme law. Parliament can only amend it and make ordinary law. If ordinary law violates the Constitution, what will happen? They will be struck down by whom? Supreme Court. Is that okay? If Parliament makes a law, if that law violates the Constitution, Supreme Court will cancel it. So who is supreme? Constitution. Okay. And who has the power to interpret the Constitution? Who has the power to interpret the Constitution and say this is right or wrong? Supreme Court. Understood? Okay. Whereas in unwritten Constitution, who is supreme? Any law made by the Parliament, they automatically will become the Constitution. Is that okay? So, who is supreme there? The Parliament is supreme, because anything they do becomes Constitution. Okay, now. So here in written, did you understand? Court has wide power. Why do they have wide power? Please write on that. Why do they have wide power? Because they will interpret the Constitution. They limit the powers of whom? Parliament. Whereas here court has limited powers, meaning they will only look into the procedure. They cannot go into the content. Is that okay? See, Who makes law in our country or any country? The legislature. In our country, the law, if it violates the constitution, it shall be held as unconstitutional. So that means legislature has limited powers. They can make law, but this law cannot violate the constitution. They can make law, but they cannot violate the constitution. So constitution restricts the power of legislature. Whereas in unwritten constitution, what is happening? There is no constitution. So the legislature has unlimited powers. Judiciary has limited powers. Whereas in written constitution, judiciary has more powers. Why? Because judiciary is the one who will check whether it is constitutional or not. Okay, na? Right. So court has wide power. Any difficulty? So the judicial review, that means judiciary can review the law, and if the law is held as unconstitutional, it will be struck. Whereas if you see here, court has limited power. It cannot strike it down. If it is made properly, it cannot strike it down. If all the procedure is followed, it cannot strike it. Here, even if all the procedure is followed, matlab the bill is introduced, bill is passed, president signs. Even after that, it can be torn and thrown away. Okay. Next, written is rigid constitution. Why rigid? To change it, you require special procedure. Okay, we have changed it only 106 times. That rigid it is. Whereas unwritten is flexible. Who can change it? Parliament can change it, right, left, and center. Next, legislature. Parliament has limited power. Why? Because constitution is supreme. Same thing what we discussed. Whereas here, legislature has wide power. Legislature is supreme. Because whatever it says is the constitution. Then, understand this last point. Even otherwise, if you're not able to understand, later once we do unitary federation, you can still understand. Now, India is a federal country. Okay. Meaning, the powers are divided between center and state. Both of them derive their power from the constitution. Is that okay? Whereas in unwritten constitution, who is supreme? The parliament. Parliament means center. There is no state, or state does not have power because there is no constitution. They have to depend on power from the parliament. So who is more powerful? The parliament or center. So unwritten constitution is always unitary because all the power is with whom? All power is with the central government, that is parliament. Okay, whereas over here, the constitution will decide whether the power should be given with the center or should be shared between center and state. For example, in India, the constitution has decided to divide the power between center and state. Whereas Japanese constitution also is a written constitution, but that constitution has decided that the power will be only with the center. There is no need to divide between center and state. So, unwritten can be unitary, like which country? Japan. It can be federal, like India. Whereas unwritten cannot be federal, because who is making the constitution? Center, parliament. So the parliament will take all the power. It can give power, but the power can also be taken, which means it's unitary. Federal means the power is independent. Unitary means power is with one unit. Okay, understood all of you? Any doubt? We're not talking about monarchy here. This is a democratic system. Monarchy, it's left to the king. That's No, monarchy is left to the king, whatever he wants. See, monarchy means he's the king. So all powers are with the king. No. So that is a constitutional monarchy. Constitution, like how we have a president over here, same way you have the king over there. He doesn't have any power like our president. Okay, it's a parliament which has the power. Okay? So this is just a symbolic head of the Britain. So Britain is a democratic country. It's a constitutional democratic country. But you have a symbolic head called as a monarch. So there's the monarch, not a republic. Ours is republic. That term we have to still discuss. So we are a republic. Okay. This one, Britain is not. So it's nothing to do with constitution, written, unwritten, demo. So ours is democracy, theirs also is democracy. Ours is republic, theirs is monarchy. So that's a two different concept. So republic means where the power is with the people. Means republic. Okay. So where the head of the state is elected directly or indirectly by the people, that's called as republic. Whereas monarchy means there is a head. The monarchy can be real or just symbolic. Real means some monarchical states like Saudi Arabia, real. Whereas Britain is symbolic. So therefore it is called as constitutional monarchy. So again, as we do more and more concept, they'll be clear. So maybe tomorrow we'll finish this chapter, everything will be clear. Now you understood the first term is written and unwritten. We have not even come to what is democracy. Okay. Largest written constitution. So now answer this. Yeah. So ours is enacted, no? Over here, enacted. So again, just to repeat. So ours was enacted by whom? By the Constituent Assembly. So facts about Constituent Assembly. It was an elected body. Initially, it had 389 members. So, around 2 years before independence, we held elections. Okay, in British India, and 389 members were elected to the Constituent Assembly. Later, after partition, it became 299. So we had 299 members who started to frame the Indian Constitution from December 9, 1946. And it took almost 2 years, 11 months, 17 days. And yes, so final session was held January 24th, 1950. And Constitution was enacted, matlab it was signed on November 26, 1949. Constitution came into force 26 January, Republic Day, 1950. So that is when it was enacted. But British Constitution is not like that. For almost almost 4 centuries, it has been evolving and still evolving. Okay. So always when questions are asked, no, circle the keyword so that you don't make mistake, which is not feature of unwritten constitution. It cannot be amended. It can be, no. So this is not a feature. This is not a feature. It is always federal constitution. No. Unitary. So this statement is correct. Parliament is supreme. Yes. Okay. So the answer is C, which is not the feature. So which is not the feature. Yeah. So these are not the features. So 1 and 2. These are not the feature. Parliament is supreme is the feature. That's why not the question. If the question was which of the following is feature of written constitution. See, that's why I told you, you should always mark the silly mistake, right? Which of the following is the feature of unwritten constitution? Parliament is supreme. Then the answer would be 1. The question is asking which is not. Understood? Okay, so that's why. So even that silly mistakes word display also you should keep in mind. Any doubt? Yes, correct. C is the answer. Okay, so we'll end the class here. Tomorrow, same time, we'll continue with the other features. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.